George, maybe you want to give us a quick overview of what is an IRA and kind of different options there?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. Before we dive into the IRAs, I do want to just comment that folks have been using charitable remainder trusts for a long time. And in some cases, they've been using them with IRAs, but we'll talk about why they're specifically powerful in this context. When you think about an IRA, they are a vehicle that was created to help save for retirement. The most popular types of IRAs that folks are familiar with are traditional or rollover IRAs, Roth IRAs, but there's many types of IRAs.
Yeah.
For the purpose of today's conversation, we'll focus on traditional and rollover IRAs, pre-tax traditional and rollover IRAs. And you can see from the graph here, the whole concept behind saving for retirement in an IRA is you're trying to reduce your taxable income as much as possible during your high tax years. And then as you enter into retirement, as your taxable income is decreasing, you're hopefully withdrawing that money at a lower tax rate. So that's the principle, the concept, and there's many combinations of things you could do to try to reduce taxes even further, like Roth conversions. When you look at the chart there, you can see the difference between purely saving in a taxable account and then saving in a tax-deferred account like an IRA or a 401k. So there's certainly benefits to not having your money whittled down over time and allowing it all to compound.
Yeah.
And I'd like to mention the 401ks have higher contributions limits than a traditional IRA. So for this conversation, the vast majority of where this will be applicable is most likely in a rollover IRA. Also to mention, 401ks are not eligible for this type of strategy, neither are 403bs. These are really limited to IRAs, which is just something important to keep in mind. When we think about some of the drawbacks or the limitations to traditional IRAs, rollover IRAs, when you do take the money out, that's taxable. Taxed as ordinary income. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, they're taxed as ordinary income. They're subject to required minimum distributions, and there's been some recent tax law changes, push that age forward, but essentially at some point, you have to start taking the money out. And also, if you do need the money sooner and you're under age 59 and a half, you could be subject to an early withdrawal penalty. So that's maybe a good thing and a bad thing. You don't want to have too easy access to these funds, which are really meant for retirement. And lastly, there are contribution limits, which I mentioned. For a traditional IRA, the contribution limits are very low. It's as low as $7,000 per year. For a 401k, 403b, those can be higher. There's a contribution limit for the employer and the employee. And so there's an opportunity to put more money aside using one of those employer-sponsored retirement plans.
Yeah. And I guess just to summarize that, IRAs, they're retirement vehicles. So they're built for you to have money later. So there's a tax advantage now, but then there's limitations on when you can pull it out or when you have to pull it out and how much. But there is a tax. You're not completely avoiding taxes. You're just avoiding taxes today for the idea of, and we talk about this all the time, everything I think in finance, you're going to somehow come around to the concept of compounding. Paying less taxes now with compounding will create more wealth in the future. But there are those limitations of it is built for your kind of retirement and using that. Now, that being said, and is going to get into this a lot more in the webinar, is people do have, whether they have other money or they don't spend it or they pass away early, it's common that people will have money left over when they pass away in their IRA. So a big topic of this is, and in most cases, those people are trying to pass it on to family. Not all, but most cases, is how do you do that efficiently and really maximize what your family gets from that? Anything else you think important to call out of the kind of the basics of IRAs, George?
I would just say an overarching theme here is really this should be part of a bigger, more comprehensive financial plan. So talk to your advisor, really make sure that you're saving the right way in the right types of vehicles. You're maximizing any kind of pre-tax savings you can. And so you want to save taxes both now in retirement and then when you pass it on to the next generation. So there's opportunities throughout your life to be able to do that.
Yeah.